you can turn, I don't know, 20 labeled samples or whatever the case, a small number of labeled of now labeled samples to a point where you can now use something else, right? Like I said, turn an unsupervised problem into a supervised problem and move up from there. But those initial stages are still a bootstrap approach, and that's where the bootstrap term comes from, right? If you guys aren't familiar, well, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing that this whole bootstrapping name comes from software development, because in software development, there's a similar concept of bootstrapping, right? How do you write a new computer, a new software development compiler? Well, you got to use another compiler to help you write the initial parts of the code to bootstrap that the new compiler, the one you want to write, up, and then you can use the new compiler to compile itself, right? It's the same process or the same concept here. Okay. Amrapali says, I think cross-validation is used in unsupervised as well. All right, I appreciate that answer. Who agrees with Amrapali? So we have people who say that it is only for supervised, and people who say it can also be for unsupervised. Joseph says, following Sarvesh's question, is there a way to measure the degree to which a distribution has drifted or changed? Yeah, that's statistics, right? You can do a distribution on your own, right? So in this case, you would do a distribution of your X column, right? Because that's your independent variable. So yeah, you would just chart that out. What is the distribution of X now that you've included observation number 2 twice? Yeah, you can graph that out. It's just a standard distribution in your, that you would do in any statistics package. Or in this case, if we're assuming linear regression, you would just, maybe do like a new scatter plot or something, right? But yeah, you could do that. Ravindran says, is that possible to change the sampling method in Bootstrap? Yeah, but then it's not Bootstrap, right? Then you could be saying you're doing more of a cross-validation approach, right? Because Bootstrap without the ability to repeat samples is cross-validation. Now, if you have a small data set, that's not going to go well, right? In some cases, your data set might be so small that you can't even do an effective randomization because there's not enough there to choose effectively, right? But yeah, you can do it, but then you're not bootstrapping anymore. All right, good questions, guys. Good questions. I think this might be the last slide. Oh, okay. So this is the second takeaway. And this is the last slide before we start looking at some code, right? So this is the second takeaway. Cross-validation, and again, this is me telling you guys as far as like, using the proper definitions and the ways I've seen people maybe not do so great in interviews with me. Cross-validation is how the model learns, right? K-folds is how those samples are chosen and managed. Same thing for leave one out, right? Leave one out is a little easier. It's kind of self-explanatory. But I don't want you confusing these two because again, I've received the definition for K-folds when I ask about cross-validation. All right, so this is the second slide I want you guys to burn into your brain. If you remember nothing else, remember this slide. Because it's a popular interview question, right? To ask about cross-validation. So I'll leave it up on the screen. Aya says, hey Aya, nice to see you. I think you're also one of our Discord members, so welcome, Aya. Feel free to switch over to YouTube, Aya, because that will give you a better view into all the code and stuff. We're about to get into the code, so that might give you a better view than Instagram, but thanks for joining the class. All right, so let me check here, but I'm pretty sure we're going into the coding next. Yep, okay, so we're going into the framework and coding next. So before we leave this deck, right, because we're going to switch over to VS Code, any questions or any other thoughts? But again, we are going over one of the fundamental building blocks of data science. I mean, this is where the rubber hits the road with data science, right? Aka says, can you give the link for YouTube? You know, that's an excellent question. Let me see if I can't bring that up for you, Aka. And for Aya too, because I think Aya wants to switch over. Give me just a second. You know, it's in my Instagram stories if you want to look it up there. But I should have that handy. Yeah, it's right here. There it is. Okay, I'm going to drop it in the Instagram chat, guys. Okay, it's in the Instagram chat. If you guys want to switch over to YouTube. All right, so we're ready to go on to code. Last call for initial questions. You can always ask questions at the end, guys, right? But I don't want to charge forward if there's something out there. All right. So the framework we're going to follow is the same as before. If this is your first time joining, I'm going to go over it, but this is the same framework we've been following, right? My way to pay my respects to the authors and build upon their work, right? Because we're not copying their work. I'm trying to build upon their work. Is to do this via AI, right? So we're going to be level 2 data scientists and thinking about this in how we can go about using AI and not start from a blank screen. Because that's going to be the future of data science and we're preparing now for it, right? So we are going to be code editors, not code writers. We're going to be using ChatGPT. And we're always going to make sure that we have some result that we're optimizing for, right? You can't be a data scientist. You can't measure results unless you have something to measure against, right? So we want to be cognizant of those metrics that we are putting ourselves up against. Okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to use a professional level development environment. We're going to find an appropriate data set. We're going to put cross-validation on a model. We're going to provide all the metrics. And we're going to also make sure that we're presenting the final iteration of the code in a professional manner, right? A data science professional writes programs, not scripts. Python is a very capable language, and we can certainly do that, okay? All right, so let's get started. Again, if you guys need anything, you know, kind of blown up on the screen, let me know. But now is we're going to go to ChatGPT and we're going to be using VS Code. All right. So ChatGPT, let's get started. First, we're going to ask about the frameworks that it knows. So it's using scikit-learn, TensorFlow, and Keras, which is great. It's using XGBoost, or rather it knows about XGBoost, LightGBM, another gradient boosting. PyTorch is for the homeless, so we don't want to use PyTorch. And that's it. It showed us 5 frameworks. Okay. All right. Well, in the previous examples, we've been using scikit-learn. So I think we should proceed with scikit-learn and see what it gives us. All right. It looks like it's going to use the Iris dataset, which is a common dataset for data science. What do you guys think? Can you guys see the code? Actually, you know what? Let me bring that code.